Make sure your cell phones are off. All right, come on in. Join the crowd. Okay, so today's topic is mustard. Mustard from the readings. It isn't just for hot dogs. Mustard in all its varieties. The plants down here in the bottom, the flowers, what they look like and when they bloom, and then the seeds, not life-size. These are much larger. Mustard seeds are very, very tiny. And above, that's how the mustard seeds, they grow in pods. And when they ripen, they just go everywhere, and it can take over your garden easily. I have that situation right now in my backyard, and I'm like, I have 3 mustard plants, and they all look like that right now, so I'm like watching and make sure they don't go boom. I'm going to try to collect them all, but I'm just hoping I don't mess up. It was mentioned, mustard, the word was mentioned 286 times in the readings, sometimes 3 or 4 times in the same reading, so that's why I say only 286 times and not 286 readings. What is mustard? It primarily refers to the condiment. Everybody, that's the first thing you thought of when I said mustard, right? It's a paste or sauce made from the mustard seeds, plus vinegar and various and sundry other things in it. The mustard plant is one of several plants having seeds that are used for the condiment. The mustard seed is what we're talking about. The seeds of the mustard plant used in cooking are crushed into a powder. The greens are also available to eat, and it's kin to the Brussels sprouts. And it also refers to a shade or a color. The mustard plaster itself was recommended for colds, bronchitis, and pneumonia. That's your indications. And contraindication is very sensitive skin. Mustard is a skin irritant, so you have to be careful with it if you have very sensitive skin, or if you're allergic to mustard in any way. And what it does is it breaks up the congestion and it stimulates circulation. Frequency, you can use it 3 to 4 days on, leave off a day, and repeat. Or in a couple of readings it talked about using it, and as soon as it got cold, to put another one on, and then wear that until it got cold, and then put a different one on, and just keep replacing it. So it really depends on how bad the cold is, how bad your bronchitis is, and what else is going on. Yeah, pretty easy. So there's a recipe for adults and a recipe for children. In the adults, it's 1 tablespoon of dry mustard. Coleman or Durkee is what was mentioned in the readings. And Coleman's is still available in your local Food Lion. This is brand new. And I always think that's cool when you find a product that was mentioned in the readings and it still looks like it did back then. Like the glyco and some of the other stuff. And for an adult, it's 4 tablespoons of organic wheat flour. So it could be any kind of organic wheat flour. I just happen to have King Arthur's here. And I already have, this isn't like a tablespoon, but as long as the portions are the same, 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, then it'll work out just right. For the children, you'd put 8 tablespoons of the flour in to dilute the mustard, so it wouldn't be as harsh for them. So I'll show you how easy this is. So we already have mustard in there, and I'll tell you, I make these in class with my students a lot of times, and I tease them that this looks like, no, it looks like peanut butter a little bit when you're done. And I said, but you wouldn't necessarily want to eat it. We actually had a student from the Philippines, and he's like, oh, I want to taste it. And he sat there and ate the whole thing. He thought it was yummy. I'm like, okay, interesting. So when you go to put the water in, You want to stir your dry goods up a little bit together. Just give it a nice stir. And then you're going to just put a little bit of water in and mush that around. Okay, get a little more water. And you just put a little bit at a time until you reach the correct consistency. Because once you get the water in, you can't get it out. And then you end up having to go, okay, yeah, you just start over again. Yeah, I should have done like they do on cooking shows and just pulled out one that's already done. I'll know for next time. Okay. Pull it out of the oven and it's already cooked. Yeah, and it shows you how easy it is to do. So it's not intimidating. You know, you're not thinking, oh, it's going to take me 20 minutes to make that. Let me just take an aspirin, or let me go do whatever.
Have you used this yourself, Renee?
Yes.
And it was successful?
Yes. Yes, I definitely did.
Is there a reason for the organic wheat flour?
Organic is good for everything. It just, because it's going to be on your chest, it's going to be directly on your skin. I just think it's better for you. But if all you have is regular wheat flour, that'll work too. It's mostly just about cutting the mustard because it's pretty strong. Cutting the mustard. Uh-huh. So that gives you the idea. Just you keep adding water until you get that peanut butter consistency. And then I did do this. I did cut my cheesecloth beforehand, and you put a little bit in your, I also cut the plastic wrap since it was so difficult last time. Okay, so I have my plastic wrap, I have my cheesecloth, and I can put this in here, and it was recommended to put this on a heating pad for just a little bit so it's nice and warm when it goes on the body. You see it looks like peanut butter here. I'm going to pass this around so you can touch it. But when it goes on the body, you don't use the heating pad. Okay? And it's just like half an inch thick. It's not much.
Does it feel kind of tingly when you put it on? Or?
Yeah, because you've heated it up, it's going to be warm, and then it may actually tingle. If you're sensitive to the mustard, it may actually start to burn. If it starts to burn, go ahead and just pull it off. But what you're going to do after you've got your pack, you put it on we'll put it on my pretend heating pad here. Then you go get yourself ready. And what you're going to do is, if you're applying it to your chest for a cough or a cold, you're going to put castor oil on first. Just rub that in first to the area. And then you can put the pack on. You can either put it directly on or use it through the cheesecloth, because you can see it just comes right through that cheesecloth anyway. And you put that on, but you just pop it on like this, and then you might put a towel over you or a blanket or whatever you're doing. And then leave it on for about 10 minutes, 15 maybe, 20 tops, because it will start to burn a little bit. And if you're really sensitive, that castor oil is just that extra barrier to keep it from causing blisters, because it could blister you if you're sensitive to it. But it's really very strong, and then of course you get that mustard smell into your nasal passages, and that helps with the congestion in the head as well. After you've taken it off, you're going to wipe yourself down with a little more castor oil, and then you can put on a snug shirt. A lot of people use the cotton t-shirts that's like a size too small, and wear that to bed, and that'll help with you should get up in the morning and feel some relief from the hacking. Okay.
Where can you buy the cheesecloth?
I got mine at Harris Teeter's. It's in the cooking, they usually have that little section there with the baking pans for Turkey Day, and they usually have cheesecloth there. Sometimes they actually have the unbleached variety there. You can get the pat-a-par paper a lot of times in that section, and the Knox gelatin, which is also something you don't see normally in stores. Okay. So he actually suggested it for a headache here, and he suggested to put it on the back of the neck. Mustard or mustard plaster or Bengay, or any of those that stimulate the circulation superficially as counter irritants. It helps to get that circulation going and would help move that headache through quicker. The question was, which eased the back this morning, the salt packs or the mustard plaster? And the answer was the mustard plaster. And that was a person that was having back problems. In the September-October 1996 Venture Inward, there was a testimonial sent in and printed about powdered mustard for pains. 7 years ago, my left knee became so painful that I could barely walk upstairs to bed. I had to put my right foot up one step, then pull the left foot up, then put the right foot on the next step, and then again and again until I got to the top. I took dry mustard, made a light paste, and smeared it all over the area that hurt. I put a plastic wrap around it so that it wouldn't dry out, secured it with a rubber band at tops and bottom, and I kept it on for 20 minutes. It burned some. Then I washed it off with cool water. The pain was greatly relieved. The next day I repeated the procedure and I was pain-free. Approximately 2 years later, she did the same thing, but it was the right knee, so she used it on there, which caused the left knee to hurt again, so then she had to use it on the left knee. And then she's perfectly healed after that. She's currently treating a finger like that, and she also uses it on her hip and lower back to relieve bad pain. I found this out by accident, not this article, but we had used it in class, and I usually give it to one of the students to take home with them to use. And none of them had a cough or anything going on, but one lady's husband was a heavy smoker, and he had a big cough, so she wanted to use it on him. He absolutely refused to use it, so she said, "Oh, I'm going to put it on my hip," because her hip hurt. And she came to class the next week and said, I used that pack on my hip, and it stopped hurting. And I went, "Oh, that's interesting." So then I coincidentally, which we know is no coincidences, I found all this stuff already. People have already been using it for that. In this reading, this one is mostly to show you that it's not a cure-all for everything, and it's not for everybody. In this reading, he said that relaxing the body with hypnosis and hands-on healing would actually be better for them than using the mustard plaster or any combination of any of those kind of irritants, those counter irritants, as he called them. So I just wanted to put that out there, that some people just, things, even though you hear about it and you think, "Oh, I want to try it," so just use your intuition, okay? Don't just try it because you think it sounds neat, but try it because it speaks to you. I mean, it speaks to you on a deep level, okay? Okay. Besides a plaster, did Mr. Cayce recommend mustard for anything else? I'm glad you asked. He did, absolutely. So here I want to show you the index of the readings. On the online, as a member, one of your benefits is that you can go online and you can look at our readings at any time, day or night. And in there, you've got the text of the readings, but also at the top, you'll see it also says index, it says background, and it also has metadata, which I don't really understand, but it's there. I may figure it out someday. But if you'll look in the index, once you've typed in the word mustard and all this stuff comes up, if you look in the index, it'll actually show you all the things that you had to do. So in this person's case, it was cancer tendencies. So it gives them physiotherapy, castor oil packs, talks about eliminations, Epsom salt packs, using the mustard for circulation, and then it gives them prescriptions. So all of these remedies are not standalones. They're not standalones. And so if you'll look in the index, it'll give you a quick overview of everything that you need to do for this particular issue, which I think is very handy. Here, they were talking about poor circulation and malnutrition after effects. So it gives you a quick look at everything that needed to happen to fix this condition. And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to the index. They look right at the text, but you're missing so much of the information that's in the readings online. If you don't sometimes look at that background to find out what was going on and why they asked for the reading. Especially when you first get into the readings, they can be very difficult to read. And this will help you kind of cut through some of the archaic language. Okay, so here, the thing that I found first was using it as a mustard water, as a foot bath. And this was for cold and congestion. To use it up to the knees, you just put your feet in the water and then rub it on up to your knees, or have a bucket that goes all the way up to your knees, and it'll help relieve those troubles. In this next reading, it also has, that each evening before retiring the feet to the knees, be bathed in hot water to which mustard is added. To the gallon of water, half a teaspoon of mustard. Just half a teaspoon to a whole gallon is all you need. Rubbing into the sole of the feet, following same those of mutton tallow and camphorated oil. This acts in this manner. It will produce a circulation to the extremities that, added with the stimuli to the hepatic circulation, will aid in equalizing and caring for the conditions as produced as drosses in the body. Also here, when the severe headaches occur, for these periods will continue until sufficient of the corrections are made. Rubbing the feet and knees or from the knees down in hot mustard water will be much preferable to taking the sedatives. So migraine headaches was one of the things that he recommended the mustard water for. Here, again, mustard water. This is about cold and congestion also, and the effects of the poisons and accumulations of same arise somewhat from indiscretions and overtaxations of the systems. We would find if we'd use the lower limbs from the knees down with mustard water, this of course just before retiring of an evening, this done once or twice, that is, this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and then keep quiet, would help. Here, it's again about the mustard water, but then he also has them taking semi-liquid foods, just liquids, and taking some quinine, the bromolaxative quinine. So I think this was one of those conditions where they had congestion in the liver and disturbances in the hepatic circulation as well. So it's not a standalone, but it'll definitely help. Here again, cold and congestion, and he had them do a little bit of massage before with a nice little blend, and then bathe the feet, apply a poultice, and then keep the body warm and moist, and basically go to bed. Something that I found that was very interesting, and if I'd heard about it, I had forgotten about it, but he actually recommended oil of mustard. To a half gallon of gasoline, that which is not colored but straight gasoline, add in the ordered name. Camphor, the oil of mustard, oil of peanuts, and oil of cedarwood. Yeah. Oh, and then you massage it in. We have the next reading shows you that. I put in a couple of different ones because there was a couple of different recipes, but they both had gasoline and they both had mustard. But then it shifts. depending on who it was for and what it was for, what they were using it for. In this one, they would massage the whole cerebral spinal system, especially to the locomotory centers. That is the brachial plexus, the lumbar, and sacral plexuses. Massaging this thoroughly into these specific places or center, as well as over the extremities, arms, and limbs. Here it makes a note that sassafras doesn't blend well with the others, so you have to shake all that stuff up first and then put the sassafras in.
Wouldn't the gasoline that we have today in today's pumps be different than it was in those days?
Yeah, you couldn't get it out of the pump because the pump has additives. Yeah, they add, engine cleaners and ethanol, yeah. So it's not straight gasoline.
Have you made?
No, I hadn't.
Do you know anybody that has?
No, I was going to ask Bar if it was. Yeah, I was going to ask Bar if that would be something he would do. I don't know if he could.
You can't.
I mean, because of the gasoline, yeah. And I don't know if there's any way we could figure out how to. If there's something that is like gasoline that we could use at this point, but yeah, you wouldn't want to get this straight out of a pump. Now, here in this reading, the only change we would make would be this. We would add that of massage with this in this proportion through half the quantity or a fourth of the quantity may be made, and only that necessary used at the time as a treatment. So to a gallon of plain, not colored, not altered gasoline, add oil of mustard and oil of cedar. Stir well, and then you'd massage it in. In some of the readings, when I was looking through these, you would massage this blend onto the back of the body, and then he gave another blend that wasn't so spicy onto the front of the body to help with locomotion. And then you would alternate Tuesdays and Thursdays to do stuff like that.
Locomotion, do you mean these people were paralyzed?
Yes.
From
Here,
accident, or does it say why they had?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and re-look at it, but I did pull out the report of the reading that we just looked at. This report, I got the report from it, so it's basically a testimonial at this point. The doctor applied the gasoline, oil of mustard, and oil of cedar this morning, and there was a relaxation in the lumbar and sacral region that surely surprised me, and I am sure it would have surprised anyone. Thanks to the Lord is my prayer for sending such helpful messages through you. I assure you that I will carry out whatever the readings tell us to do, for they know.
Do you think it was Thomas Chevrolet?
No, this was for a female. Yeah, it could have been one of his readings, because there's 286 readings, and I plowed through for the first 20 pages, I guess, 12 pages, and found all the different things, because I was looking for anything that said mustard, and, well, what about this? Well, what about that? So the other obvious thing was as a food. For glandular disturbance is indicated by the swelling or the accumulation on the neck, and as we find a diet, exercise, local applications are indicated as being the better for making the proper corrections in the physical forces at this time. In the diet, keep a better balance in glandular secretion and glandular activity, as may be had by having some portion of each meal, save the breakfast, to include a green, raw vegetable as lettuce, celery, carrots, radish, cabbage, mustard, spinach, or a combination of any or all of these, preferable with an oil dressing. Mm-hmm.
Is that a mustard green?
Yeah, mustard greens. Mm-hmm. That isn't actually a mustard green, but it was the only little picture I could get free, so I used that one. At noons, in this reading, he suggested lettuce, spinach, mustard, onions, peppers, tomatoes for this person, or the raw potato, very little of course, and these may be taken either with the oil or the mayonnaise dressing. So eating your raw vegetables at noon. So I'm going to recap here. So now the list is quite large, and that's just part of it. I didn't put everything on there because I didn't get through all of the readings before this week. But as a foot bath, it works with cold and congestion, Parkinson's disease tendencies, incornation of the glands, migraine headaches, incornation of the nervous system, and neuralgia. As a massage, which chances are we won't be able to use it like that, but we could maybe use just the mustard oil and the cedar oil and maybe play with water or a witch hazel blend of some sort and try to do it that way. It couldn't hurt to try. But it works with laryngitis, epoxy, ataxia, locomotion, impaired locomotion, lymph circulation, pectoralis angina, the heart issues, paralysis, injuries, strains, after effects, poor elimination, arthritis, and of course in the diet to help with a better glandular secretion and glandular activities.
Renee,
Yes.
what about turpentine as a substitute for gasoline?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to research that before I'd go for that.
Wouldn't you want to find out what it is, the quality of the gasoline? Because, now they use some other means of, like, motoring automobiles using other kinds besides gasoline. People make something,
Mhm.
do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And last but not least, in the 262 series, he talked about faith. And of course, yet to most individuals, there is seen that little becomes in the scope of acceptance, except they live by faith, that they become aware of, for as has been said, ye with faith as much as a mustard seed may say unto the mountain, be thou removed and cast into the sea. Most say they believe, and yet begin at once to explain as to how this means in the mental rather than the material source. Hence we find faith not of the senses, else it becomes confidence in personalities of the experiences of the senses within themselves or others. Then, when troubles and doubts arise, they immediately begin to sink, even as Peter in the presence of life itself. So having a faith is of a mustard seed. Is there any other questions today? Thank you. Next week we're going to talk about salt. Yes.